Ryan had always thought Friday nights were supposed to be fun, but here he was sitting alone in his small apartment, staring at lines of computer code that seemed to mock him. His boss had dumped 3 projects on his desk that morning, all due Monday. His girlfriend had broken up with him last week through a text message, and his best friend was too busy with his new job to hang out anymore. "This is pathetic," Ryan muttered to himself, rubbing his tired eyes. He'd been coding for 12 straight hours and his brain felt like mush. The coffee had gone cold hours ago and his back ached from hunching over his laptop. He needed air. He needed to get out of this stuffy apartment before he went completely crazy. Ryan grabbed his jacket and wallet, not really sure where he was going. He just started walking down the street, letting his feet take him wherever they wanted. The cool night air felt good on his face, and slowly, some of the tension in his shoulders began to fade. That's when he spotted it. A small, dimly lit bar tucked between a laundromat and a closed pizza shop. The neon sign flickered weakly, spelling, "Out the Comet." It looked like the kind of place his mother would have warned him about, but tonight Ryan didn't care. He just wanted somewhere quiet to sit and maybe have a beer. The inside of the Comet was exactly what he expected. Dark wood, cracked leather seats, and the smell of old cigarettes hanging in the air. A few regulars sat at the bar, nursing their drinks and keeping to themselves. Perfect. Ryan found a corner table and ordered a beer from the tired-looking waitress. She barely looked at him as she set down the bottle and walked away. This was exactly what he needed, a place where nobody knew him and nobody cared about his problems. He was halfway through his beer when the old man appeared. The guy looked like he hadn't slept in days. His gray hair stuck up in all directions. His clothes were wrinkled and stained, and his hands shook slightly as he clutched an empty whiskey glass. But it was his eyes that caught Ryan's attention. They were wild, desperate, like someone who was running out of time. "Hey, kid," the old man said, sliding uninvited into the seat across from Ryan. "You look like someone who appreciates unusual opportunities." Ryan blinked. "Excuse me?" The man leaned forward, and Ryan caught a strong whiff of alcohol. "Name's Eddie Kowalski, and I got something that's gonna change your life forever. Look, if you're trying to sell me something—" "Not selling," Eddie interrupted, his voice dropping to a whisper. "Trading. I got 2. Let's call them rare collectibles. Beautiful ones. One of a kind. And I'm willing to let them go for just 1 drink." Ryan looked around the bar, wondering if this was some kind of joke. "1 drink, that's it?" Eddie nodded frantically. "1 drink, that's all I need. Just enough to settle a debt, if you know what I mean." "What kind of collectibles are we talking about here?" Ryan asked, despite himself. There was something about Eddie's desperation that made him curious. Eddie's eyes lit up. "You want to see? They're right outside in my truck, in a special container, real special." Every reasonable part of Ryan's brain told him to walk away. This was clearly some kind of scam, or worse, but it had been such a terrible week, and Eddie seemed so genuinely desperate that Ryan found himself nodding. "All right," he said. "Show," and Eddie practically jumped out of his seat. "You won't regret this, kid, trust me." They walked outside to where an old pickup truck sat under a broken streetlight. In the back was a large wooden crate about the size of a coffin. It was covered in what looked like carved symbols that seemed to shimmer in the dim light. "Pretty, ain't it?" Eddie said, running his hand over the wood. "Got this from a guy who got it from a guy who, well, let's just say it traveled a long way to get here." Ryan stared at the crate. He could swear he heard something coming from inside. A soft humming sound like someone singing a lullaby very quietly. "What's in there?" he asked. "The most beautiful things you've ever seen," Eddie said. "But I can't open it here. Too public. You got to take it home first, then you use this." He pulled out an ornate key that looked like it was made of some kind of metal Ryan had never seen before. It was warm to the touch and seemed to glow with its own light. "This is insane," Ryan said, but even as he said it, he was pulling out his wallet. There was something about the whole situation that felt important, like he was standing at a crossroads and had to choose which way to go. "1 drink," Eddie said. "That's all? 1 whiskey, and this is all yours." Ryan looked at the crate again. The humming sound seemed to be getting louder, or maybe he was just imagining it. He thought about his empty apartment, his failed relationship, his boring job. What did he have to lose? "All right," he said. "One drink." 10 minutes later, Eddie was gulping down his whiskey like it was water. The moment he finished, he pressed the key into Ryan's hand and started backing toward the door. "Remember," Eddie called out as he hurried away, "don't open it until you get home, and whatever you do, don't try to return them. What's done is done." And then he was gone, leaving Ryan standing alone next to the mysterious crate. Ryan hired a cab to help him get the crate back to his apartment. The driver kept giving him strange looks in the mirror, probably wondering what kind of person transports mysterious boxes at midnight. Ryan didn't blame him. He was wondering the same thing about himself. Once he got the crate into his living room, Ryan just stood there staring at it. The humming was definitely real now, and it was coming from inside the box. It was the most beautiful sound he'd ever heard, like music from a dream. His hands were shaking as he put the key in the lock. The moment he turned it, the crate began to glow with a soft, silvery light. The lid opened slowly, as if pushed by invisible hands, and Ryan's jaw dropped. Inside were two young women, and they were the most stunning people he had ever seen in his life. They had skin that seemed to shimmer between pale blue and silver, like moonlight on water. Their hair was long and white as fresh snow, and their eyes sparkled like stars. They were wearing simple white dresses that seemed to be made of light itself. As they sat up in the crate, they looked around his apartment with curious expressions. Then their eyes fell on Ryan, and they smiled, the kind of smiles that could make a person forget their own name. "Greetings," one of them said, her voice like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "Are you our new guardian?" Ryan couldn't speak. He couldn't even breathe. He just stood there wondering if he was having the most vivid dream of his life. The second woman climbed gracefully out of the crate and walked toward him. "We are grateful for your kindness in freeing us," she said. "We are Zara and Luna, and we are forever in your debt." Ryan woke up on his couch the next morning with a terrible headache and the strangest dream he could remember. He'd dreamed about buying a mysterious box from a drunk old man and finding two beautiful women inside who claimed to be from another planet. The dream had felt so real that he could still hear their musical voices. He rubbed his eyes and sat up, expecting to see his normal, messy living room. Instead, he saw Zara and Luna sitting on his kitchen chairs watching him with those incredible star-like eyes. "Good morning, Guardian Ryan," Zara said with a warm smile. "We trust you slept well?" Ryan's mouth fell open. It hadn't been a dream. These two otherworldly women were actually sitting in his apartment looking as stunning in the morning light as they had the night before. "This is real," he whispered to himself. "This is actually happening." Luna tilted her head curiously. "Of course it is real. Did you think we were illusions?" "I was hoping," Ryan said honestly. "Not that you're not amazing. It's just that normal people don't have aliens in their apartments." "We prefer the term celestial beings," Zara corrected gently. "And we are, not simply visitors. We are now bound to you by the ancient laws of our people." Ryan stood up quickly, which made his head spin. "Bound? What do you mean, bound?" The two women exchanged a look, and Luna spoke first. "In our culture, when someone purchases another person's freedom, they become responsible for that person's debt. The old human traded us to you, which means you are now our guardian until we can repay what we owe." "But I didn't buy you," Ryan protested. "I just bought that guy a drink." "The transaction is complete," Zara said sadly. "We cannot leave until our obligation is fulfilled. To do so would bring great shame to our families and could even start a war between our worlds." Ryan sat back down heavily. "A war? Over me buying some drunk guy a whiskey?" "The man you call Eddie was carrying debts to very dangerous beings," Luna explained. "By accepting us as payment, you have taken on those responsibilities. We cannot abandon you now." Ryan put his head in his hands. "This is insane. I just wanted a quiet beer." "We understand this is difficult," Zara said, moving closer to him. "But perhaps we can make it easier. We are not helpless. We can contribute to your household." Before Ryan could ask what she meant, Luna walked over to his dying houseplant in the corner. She placed her hands gently on the brown, withered leaves, and immediately the plant began to turn green. Within seconds, it was blooming with flowers Ryan had never seen before. Holy! Ryan stared at the plant. How did you do that? We have certain abilities, Luna said modestly. We can help maintain your dwelling and assist with your daily tasks. Speaking of which, Zara added, your food storage area is quite empty. Shall we prepare something for you? Ryan's stomach growled loudly. He hadn't eaten since yesterday afternoon. I don't really have much food. I was going to order pizza or something. Zara smiled and walked to his kitchen. She opened his nearly empty refrigerator and frowned. This will not do. She placed her hands over the empty shelves, and suddenly they were filled with fresh fruits, vegetables, and other foods Ryan had never seen before. Where did that come from? Ryan asked, walking over to look. We can create what we need, Zara said simply. It is a basic skill among our people. Luna joined her sister in the kitchen. We will prepare something nutritious for you, Guardian. Ryan watched in amazement as the two women began cooking. They moved with perfect coordination as if they could read each other's minds. The smells coming from his kitchen were incredible, better than any restaurant he'd ever been to. Look, he said, sitting on a kitchen stool. You keep calling me Guardian, but I'm just a regular guy. I write computer programs for a living. I don't know how to be anyone's guardian. You freed us from captivity, Luna said as she stirred something that smelled like heaven. That makes you our protector by law. But what if I don't want to be? Your protector? What if I want you to be free? Zara paused in her cooking. That is very kind, Guardian Ryan. But even if you released us, we would have nowhere to go. Our ship was destroyed when we were captured. We cannot return home without it. Ryan felt a pang of sympathy. You're stuck here? On Earth? Until we can find a way to contact our people, yes, Luna said sadly. We are alone in your world. The way she said it reminded Ryan of how he'd been feeling lately, alone and disconnected. Maybe they had more in common than he thought. Okay, he said finally. If you're going to stay here, we need to figure out some ground rules. Both women looked at him attentively. First, you can't just magic food into my refrigerator whenever you want. My neighbors will think it's weird if I suddenly have groceries I never bought. We understand, Zara nodded. Second, if anyone asks, you're my cousins from out of town. Way out of town. Cousins? Luna repeated carefully. We will remember this. And third, Ryan continued, you don't have to wait on me or serve me or anything like that. If we're going to live together, we're equals. Got it? The two women looked confused. But you are our guardian, Zara said. It is our duty to serve you. Well, I'm changing the rules, Ryan said firmly. In this house, nobody serves anybody. We all just help each other out. Luna smiled for the first time since he'd met her. This is a pleasant custom. We accept these new rules. As they finished preparing breakfast, Ryan started to relax a little. Maybe this situation wasn't completely terrible. Sure, it was weird having two aliens living in his apartment, but they seemed nice enough. And the food smelled amazing. That's when someone knocked loudly on his door. Ryan, came a voice from outside. I know you're in there. Open up. Ryan's blood went cold. It was Mrs. Henderson, his elderly neighbor who seemed to know everything that happened in the building. Quick, he whispered to Zara and Luna. Hide. Hide? Zara looked confused. Why would we hide? Because normal people don't glow, Ryan hissed, noticing that both women had a faint silvery shimmer to their skin. The knocking got louder. Ryan Rodriguez, I saw you bringing strange boxes up here last night. What's going on? Luna waved her hand and suddenly both women looked completely normal. No glowing skin, no star-like eyes. They could have been regular, if unusually beautiful, human women. How did you? Ryan started to ask. Disguise techniques, Zara whispered. Now answer your door before she becomes suspicious. Ryan opened the door to find Mrs. Henderson standing there with her arms crossed and a stern expression on her face. "Good morning, Mrs. Henderson," Ryan said, trying to sound casual. She peered past him into the apartment. "Who are those women? In your kitchen?" "Oh, them?" Ryan tried to sound relaxed. "Those are my cousins, Zara and Luna. They're visiting from Canada." Mrs. Henderson's eyes narrowed. "Canada? They don't look Canadian." "They're from northern Canada," Ryan said weakly. At that moment, the smoke alarm went off. Something in the kitchen was burning. "We must attend to the cooking," Luna called out, and Ryan heard pans clattering. Mrs. Henderson pushed past Ryan and marched into his apartment. "What in the world are you girls cooking? It smells like—" She stopped mid-sentence, staring at the kitchen. The smoke alarm was still beeping, but there was no smoke. Instead, the entire kitchen was filled with the most amazing aroma, and the two women were standing calmly by the stove as if nothing had happened. "How did you—" Mrs. Henderson began. "Family recipe," Zara said smoothly. "Very traditional." Mrs. Henderson looked around suspiciously, but she couldn't find anything wrong. Reluctantly, she headed back toward the door. "Just keep the noise down," she grumbled. "Some of us are trying to enjoy our Saturday morning." After she left, Ryan closed the door and leaned against it. This is going to be harder than I thought. 3 weeks later, Ryan's life had become something he never could have imagined. What started as the weirdest night of his life had turned into the weirdest month. And honestly, he was starting to enjoy it. Zara and Luna had settled into his apartment like they'd always belonged there. They'd figured out how to use his television, and Ryan often came home to find them binge-watching cooking shows or nature documentaries. Their reactions to Earth culture were hilarious and sometimes surprising. "Guardian Ryan," Luna said one evening as he walked through the door after work, "we have been studying your human entertainment and we have questions." Ryan set down his laptop bag and looked at them. They were sitting on his couch, sharing a bowl of popcorn they'd somehow made taste like something between caramel and starlight. "What kind of questions?" he asked, though he was almost afraid to hear the answer. Zara pointed at the TV, where a romantic comedy was playing. "In this story, the male human brings the female human flowers to show affection. Should we be bringing you flowers?" Ryan nearly choked on his water. "What? No, you don't need to bring me flowers. But the television shows say that gift-giving is how humans express care for their guardians," Luna added seriously. "I'm not really your guardian, remember? We talked about this. We're just roommates." The two women exchanged one of their meaningful looks. Over the past few weeks, Ryan had learned that they could practically read each other's minds. Sometimes he caught them having entire conversations without saying a word. "Perhaps," Zara said carefully, "the confusion comes from our understanding of human relationships. We have been observing, and it seems that when multiple beings share living space and care for each other's well-being, they form what you call families, or romantic partnerships," Luna added innocently. Ryan felt his face turn red. You're not, this isn't." He couldn't finish the sentence because honestly, he wasn't sure what this was anymore. At first, he just wanted them to feel safe until they could figure out how to get home. But somewhere along the way, he'd started looking forward to coming home to them. He'd started caring about whether they were happy, and there was no denying that they were both incredibly beautiful. Not just their otherworldly appearance, but the way they moved, the way they laughed at his terrible jokes, the way they genuinely seemed to care about his day when he came home from work. "We do not wish to make you uncomfortable," Zara said, gently. "We are simply trying to understand our place in your world." Before Ryan could respond, his phone rang. It was his best friend, Jake. "Hey, man." Jake's voice came through the speaker. "Want to grab dinner tonight? You've been acting weird lately, and I'm starting to worry about you." Ryan glanced at Zara and Luna, who were watching him with curious expressions. "Actually, I can't tonight. I'm busy." "Busy with what? You've canceled on me like 6 times in the past month. Are you seeing someone?" "It's complicated," Ryan said, which was the understatement of the century. "Bring her along then. I'd love to meet the girl who's got you acting all mysterious. Ryan's eyes widened. I don't think that's a good idea. Come on, how bad could it be? Unless she's married or something. She's not married, Ryan said without thinking. They're not married. There was a pause. They? Dude, what's going on over there? Ryan realized his mistake too late. I gotta go, Jake. I'll call you later. He hung up quickly, but he could see that Zara and Luna had heard everything. Your friend wishes to meet us, Luna observed. Yeah, well, that's not going to happen, Ryan said. You guys are supposed to be keeping a low profile, remember? But if we are part of your family unit now, shouldn't we meet your other family members? Zara asked logically. Ryan was saved from answering by another knock at the door, but this time it wasn't Mrs. Henderson. Through the peephole, he could see a man in a dark suit holding some kind of official-looking badge. Government, he whispered, to Zara and Luna. Hide now. The women immediately activated their disguise abilities, making themselves look like normal humans. But Ryan could tell they were nervous. He opened the door to find a serious-looking man in his 40s with sharp eyes and an expression that suggested he didn't smile very often. Ryan Rodriguez? The man said. I'm Agent Torres with the Department of Unusual Phenomena. I'd like to ask you a few questions. Ryan's heart started pounding. Department of what now? May I come in? Agent Torres asked, though it didn't really sound like a question. Do I have a choice? You always have a choice, Mr. Rodriguez, but it would be in everyone's best interest if we could have a friendly conversation. Ryan stepped aside and let the agent into his apartment. Torres looked around with the kind of careful attention that made Ryan nervous. His eyes lingered on the unusual plants that Luna had been tending, which had grown into species that definitely didn't exist on Earth. Interesting decor, Torres commented. Those are some unique flowers. I have a green thumb, Ryan said weakly. Torres pulled out a small device that looked like a tablet crossed with a Geiger counter. It started beeping softly as he walked around the apartment. Mr. Rodriguez, we've been monitoring some unusual energy readings in this neighborhood. They started about 3 weeks ago. Any idea what might be causing that? Ryan tried to keep his expression neutral. Energy readings? I wouldn't know anything about that. I'm just a programmer. Yes, we know, Torres said, still scanning with his device. We also know you visited a bar called the Comet 3 weeks ago and left with a large wooden crate. Ryan's mouth went dry. How did they know that? We have security footage from several locations, Torres continued, as if reading his mind. We're very interested in that crate and its contents. From the corner of his eye, Ryan could see Zara and Luna sitting perfectly still on the couch, looking like normal, if nervous, young women. But he noticed that some of the electronics in his apartment were starting to act strangely. His laptop screen was flickering and his microwave was displaying random numbers. Torres noticed too. His device started beeping faster. Mr. Rodriguez, Torres said, his voice becoming more serious. For national security reasons, I need you to tell me exactly what was in that crate. Ryan looked at Zara and Luna, then back at the agent. These women had been nothing but kind to him. They'd improved his life in ways he never expected. They'd trusted him with their secret, and now someone was trying to take them away. It was just old furniture, Ryan said firmly. Antique stuff, family heirlooms. Torres raised an eyebrow. Antique furniture that emits electromagnetic radiation? Maybe it has metal in it, Ryan suggested lamely. The agent walked closer to the couch where Zara and Luna were sitting. His device was beeping rapidly now. And who are these lovely ladies? Torres asked. My cousins, Ryan said quickly. From Canada. Really? Torres looked directly at Zara. What part of Canada? Zara smiled sweetly. The northern part. Very northern, Luna added helpfully. Torres studied them for a long moment. Ryan could practically feel the tension in the room. Then suddenly all the electronics in the apartment went completely dead. The lights, the TV, even Torres's scanning device. Everything just shut off. In the darkness, Ryan heard Torres sigh. Mr. Rodriguez, the agent said quietly, I think we need to have a more serious conversation. Soon. When the lights came back on a few seconds later, Torres was gone. The door was still locked, and there was no sign that anyone had left. The apartment, Ryan, Zara, and Luna sat in stunned silence for several minutes. Finally, Luna spoke. Guardian Ryan, we believe our presence here may be causing you difficulties. You think? Ryan said, running his hands through his hair. That guy knew everything. How did he just disappear like that? There are others on your world who possess abilities, Zara said softly. We are not the only non-humans living among you. Ryan stared at them. What do you mean? Earth is not as isolated as most of its inhabitants believe, Luna explained. There are communities of beings from other worlds who have made homes here. Some work with your governments, others do not. And now they know about you, Ryan said. Now they know about all of us, Zara corrected. Guardian Ryan, we fear that our past is about to catch up with us. And when it does, you may be in great danger. Ryan couldn't sleep that night. Every small sound made him jump, and he kept checking the locks on his door even though he knew they wouldn't stop someone like Agent Torres. Zara and Luna had been unusually quiet since the agent's visit, whispering to each other in their musical language whenever they thought he wasn't listening. Around 3 a.m, Ryan finally gave up on sleep and went to the kitchen for some water. He found both women sitting at his small table, looking more serious than he'd ever seen them. We need to talk, Zara said softly. Ryan sat down across from them. Yeah, I figured. That guy Torres really freaked me out. How did he just vanish? Like that? Luna looked down at her hands. Guardian Ryan, we have not been entirely honest with you about who we are. Ryan's stomach dropped. What do you mean? We told you we were scouts, Zara began carefully. That was true, but we did not tell you why we were scouting your world. Okay, Ryan said slowly. Why were you scouting Earth? The two women exchanged another look, and Ryan could see they were struggling with something big. We are not just any scouts, Luna said finally. We are, how do you say, Royal Scouts. Our father rules a large system of planets, and we were sent here to evaluate Earth's readiness for contact. Ryan blinked. Your father is a king? Something like that, Zara said, which means that the people hunting us are not just bounty hunters. They are enemies of our family who want to use us as leverage in a larger conflict. And now they know where we are, Luna added quietly. Ryan felt like the ground was shifting under his feet. So you're princesses? Actual alien princesses? We prefer the term heirs to the throne, Zara said with a small smile. But yes, essentially. And you didn't think to mention this before? We were trying to protect you, Luna said. The less you knew, the safer you would be. But now... She was interrupted by a sound that made all three of them freeze. It was a low, humming noise, like the sound that had come from the crate, but much louder and coming from outside. Ryan went to his window and looked out. What he saw made his blood run cold. 3 large, dark shapes were hovering silently above his apartment building. They looked like nothing he'd ever seen before, sleek and angular, with no visible means of propulsion. As he watched, smaller, shapes began dropping from them, floating down toward the building like deadly leaves. They found us, Zara whispered, appearing beside him at the window. Who found us? Ryan asked, though he was afraid he already knew. The Void Hunters, Luna said, her voice filled with fear. They are the ones who captured us before. They work for our father's enemies. Ryan watched as the floating figures landed on the roof of his building. They were tall and thin, wearing what looked like armor made of shadow and starlight. What do they want? Ryan asked. To take us back, Zara said, and probably to eliminate any witnesses. Ryan's phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. Mr. Rodriguez, this is Agent Torres. Stay exactly where you are. Do not let anyone in. We're on our way. Great, Ryan muttered. Now the government's involved too. Luna grabbed his arm. Guardian Ryan, we can protect you, but you need to trust us completely. What you are about to see may frighten you. More than alien bounty hunters trying to break into my apartment? I doubt it. Zara closed her eyes and began to glow with that same silvery light Ryan had seen when he first met them. But this time, it was much brighter, and he could feel power, radiating from her like heat from a fire. Luna did the same, and suddenly Ryan's apartment was filled with a protective barrier of light. The walls, ceiling, and floor all shimmered with an energy field that made the air itself feel alive. Whoa, Ryan breathed. You can do that? We are not helpless, Zara said, her voice now carrying an authority that reminded Ryan she really was royalty. We have been trained since childhood to defend ourselves. That's when the Void Hunters struck. The first attack came as a blast of dark energy that hit Ryan's apartment like a meteor. The entire building shook, and Ryan heard his neighbors screaming, but the light barrier held, deflecting the attack, harmlessly. They're trying to break through the shields, Luna said, sweat beading on her forehead from the effort of maintaining the barrier. How long can you hold it? Ryan asked. Not long enough, Zara admitted. There are too many of them. Another blast hit, this one stronger than the first. The lights in Ryan's apartment flickered and he could see cracks appearing in Luna's energy field. There has to be something I can do, Ryan said desperately. I can't just stand here and watch while you fight for your lives. You can run, Luna said. When the barrier falls, you should escape. Find Agent Torres. Tell him what happened here. I'm not leaving you, Ryan said firmly. Guardian Ryan, Zara said, her voice gentle despite the battle raging around them. You are brave, but you are human. You cannot fight beings like these. Ryan looked around his apartment, his normal, boring apartment that had become the center of an intergalactic conflict. 3 weeks ago, his biggest problem had been a coding deadline. Now he was caught between alien bounty hunters and government, agents trying to protect 2 women who had become the most important people in his life. Maybe I can't fight them, Ryan said, but I know this building better than they do. He grabbed his phone and started texting rapidly. What are you doing? Zara asked. Calling for backup, Ryan said. If these Void Hunters want to fight, let's give them one they won't forget. Within minutes, every smoke alarm in the building was going off. The fire department, police, and paramedics were all racing toward the building. Ryan had also sent anonymous tips to 3 different news stations about a major incident at his address. Humans may not have superpowers, Ryan said as sirens wailed outside, but we're really good at making noise and causing chaos. The Void Hunters seemed confused by the sudden arrival of so many emergency vehicles. Their attacks became more scattered and less coordinated. That's when Agent Torres arrived. Ryan saw him through the window, standing in the parking lot with what looked like a team of people in black uniforms. Torres was holding some kind of device that was glowing with the same silvery light as Zara and Luna's shields. Your government friend has interesting equipment, Luna observed. Torres pointed his device at the hovering ships, and suddenly they were surrounded by nets of crackling energy. The Void Hunters' attack stopped as they found themselves trapped. He's one of them, Ryan realized. Torres isn't entirely human, is he? We told you, Zara said with a tired smile. Earth is not as isolated as most humans believe. The battle was over quickly after that. The Void Hunters were captured or driven off, and the emergency vehicles gradually left the scene. But Ryan knew this was far from over. Agent Torres appeared at his door an hour later, looking tired but satisfied. Well, Mr. Rodriguez, Torres said, I think it's time you learned the truth about what's really happening on your planet. The truth? Ryan asked. The truth is that your 2 cousins are probably the most important people on Earth right now, Torres said. And whether you like it or not, you've just become part of something much bigger than yourself. Ryan looked at Zara and Luna, who were holding hands and looking exhausted from the battle. What happens now? Ryan asked. Now, Torres said. We figure out how to keep them safe. Because this attack was just the beginning. Word is spreading that the lost princesses have been found, and everyone in the galaxy is going to want a piece of them. Ryan felt a chill run down his spine. Everyone? Everyone, Torres confirmed. The good guys, the bad guys, and everyone in between. Your quiet little life is officially over, Mr. Rodriguez. As if to emphasize his point, Ryan's phone buzzed with a text from his friend Jake. Dude, I just saw your apartment building on the news. Are you okay? What's going on over there? Ryan looked at the message, then at the two alien princesses in his living room, then at the government agent who apparently wasn't entirely human. Yeah, Ryan said to himself. My quiet little life is definitely over. 2 days after the attack, Ryan's apartment looked like a disaster zone. Government agents had been in and out, installing new security systems and scanning everything with their mysterious devices. His neighbors kept staring at him in the hallway, and Mrs. Henderson had knocked on his door 6 times asking what was really going on. But the worst part was the decision he had to make. Agent Torres sat across from Ryan at his kitchen table, a stack of official-looking papers between them. Zara and Luna stood by the window, their disguises flickering slightly as their emotions ran high. So let me get this straight, Ryan said, rubbing his temples. Option 1. You take Zara and Luna to some secret government facility where they'll be protected, but basically prisoners. It's not a prison, Torres said calmly. It's a secure location where they can be safe while we figure out how to handle the political situation. And option 2? You all disappear. New identities, new lives, constant protection from my department, but you'd never be able to contact your friends or family again. Ryan looked at the women who had turned his life upside down in the best possible way. And option 3? Torres hesitated. There is no option 3, Mr. Rodriguez. Yes, there is, Luna said quietly from the window. We could go home. Everyone turned to look at her. What do you mean? Ryan asked. Zara moved closer to her sister. Luna and I have been talking. We've made contact with our people. A rescue ship is coming. Ryan felt his heart sink. When? Tonight, Zara said softly. They'll arrive at midnight. Ryan stared at them. After everything they'd been through together, they were just going to leave? So that's it? You're going back to your planet and I go back to my boring life? Guardian Ryan, Luna said, her voice gentle. You have given us more kindness than we ever expected to find on this world. But we cannot ask you to give up your entire life for us. What if I want to? Ryan said, surprising himself. Torres raised an eyebrow. Want to what? Give up my life here, Ryan said, standing up. What if I want to go with them? The room went completely silent. That's impossible, Torres said finally. You're human. You can't survive in space, let alone on an alien world. Actually, Zara said carefully, that is not entirely true. Torres turned to her. What do you mean? Over the past month we have been adapting Guardian Ryan's physiology, Luna explained. Small changes to help him better coexist with our energy fields. You've been doing what? Ryan asked. Remember how you have been feeling stronger lately? Zara asked. How your reflexes have improved. How you seem to need less sleep. Ryan thought about it. He had been feeling different lately. More alert, more energetic. He'd assumed it was just because he was happier. We have been slowly preparing your body to handle environments beyond Earth, Luna said. It was a precautionary measure, in case we ever needed to evacuate quickly. Torres stood up abruptly. You've been experimenting on a human citizen without his consent or knowledge? We have been protecting someone we care about, Zara said firmly, her royal authority showing through, and we would never do anything to harm him. Ryan looked between them all. So you're saying I could actually go with you? To space? The modifications would need to be completed, Luna said. And there would be risks, but yes, it is possible. Torres pulled out his phone. I need to report this to my superiors immediately. Wait, Ryan said, grabbing Torres's arm. What if there was a fourth option? Torres paused. I'm listening. Ryan looked at Zara and Luna, then back at the agent. What if we didn't run and we didn't hide? What if we figured out a way to solve this problem for everyone? The galactic political situation is extremely complex, Torres said slowly. It's not something that can be solved by what? By a regular guy and two alien princesses? Ryan interrupted. Look, I may just be a programmer, but I know something about solving problems. And it seems to me that everyone wants something different here. He started pacing around his small apartment. The bad guys want to use Zara and Luna as political prisoners. Their father wants them back home safe. Your government wants to keep Earth safe. And Zara and Luna want to be free to make their own choices. Your point? Torres asked. What if there was a way to give everyone what they want? Ryan said. What if Zara and Luna went home but not as prisoners or bargaining chips? What if they went back as ambassadors? Zara tilted her head. Ambassadors? Think about it, Ryan said, getting excited. You've spent a month learning about human culture. You understand us better than any other aliens probably do. You could help your people and mine figure out how to coexist peacefully. Luna's eyes started to sparkle. A formal alliance between our worlds. Exactly, Ryan said. No more secret hiding, no more fear. Just honest communication between two peoples who could probably help each other a lot. Torres was quiet for a long moment. Then he started typing rapidly on his phone. This is actually not a terrible idea. It would solve several major problems at once. And, Ryan continued, his heart pounding, if you're going to be ambassadors, you'll probably need someone who understands both cultures. Someone who's lived with humans his whole life, but who also understands your people. Zara smiled. Are you proposing to come with us as a cultural advisor, Guardian Ryan? I'm proposing to come with you as whatever you need me to be, Ryan said honestly. These past few weeks have been the best of my life. I don't want to go back to my old boring existence. Torres looked up from his phone. My superiors are interested, very interested, but there would be conditions. Such as? Luna asked. Regular. Communication with Earth, detailed reports on alien technology and culture, and absolute transparency about any threats to our planet. Those terms are acceptable, Zara said formally, assuming our father agrees to the alliance. There's just one problem, Torres said. The rescue ship arriving tonight, it's not just a rescue ship. It's a small fleet including several warships. Your father is not coming to negotiate. He's coming to take you home by force if necessary. Ryan felt his stomach drop. So we're back to square one? Not necessarily, Luna said thoughtfully. What if we convinced him that we had found something more valuable than just our safe return? Such as? Torres asked. A new ally, Zara said, understanding her sister immediately. A world full of beings with incredible potential, ready to join the galactic community as equals rather than subjects. Ryan looked out his window at the city lights below. Somewhere out there, people were going about their normal lives, completely unaware that everything was about to change. So we're really doing this, he asked? We're going to try to start an intergalactic alliance? We are going to try to start a future where no one has to hide who they are, Luna said, taking his hand. Where beings from different worlds can choose their own paths, Zara added, taking his other hand. Torres closed his phone. The president wants to speak with all of you, immediately. Ryan laughed, a sound that was half excitement and half terror. The president? Of the United States? Among others, Torres said. This has become much bigger than just protecting two alien refugees. If this works, it will change everything. As if summoned by his words, the sky outside began to glow with soft silver light. The rescue fleet had arrived early. Well, Ryan said, watching massive ships decloak above his city. I guess my quiet little life is officially over. Perhaps, Zara said, squeezing his hand. But your extraordinary life is just beginning. Luna smiled at him. Are you ready, Guardian Ryan? Ryan looked at the two amazing women who had crashed into his life with a wooden crate and a desperate, old man's whiskey. Then he looked at Agent Torres, who represented a hidden world he never knew existed. Finally, he looked out at the alien ships hovering over his hometown, waiting to take him on an adventure beyond anything he'd ever imagined. You Know what? Ryan said, grabbing his jacket. I've been ready for this my whole life, I just didn't know it yet. And as they walked out of his apartment toward whatever came next, Ryan realized that sometimes the best adventures begin with the most ordinary moments, like buying a stranger a drink on the worst day of your life. 3 months later, Ryan stood on the observation deck of a space station orbiting Earth, watching shuttles ferry diplomats and scientists between his home planet and the growing fleet of allied worlds. He wore a uniform that marked him as an official cultural liaison, and his enhanced physiology let him work alongside beings from dozens of different planets. Zara and Luna found him there, as they often did during quiet moments. "Any regrets?" Zara asked, joining him at the viewport. Ryan looked down at Earth, then at the remarkable women beside him, then at the impossible future they were all building together. "Not a single one," he said, and meant it completely.